Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true. Oily mouth shot and killed in Portmore. A St. Catherine man was shot and killed in his community of Portmore Lane on Monday night. The deceased has been identified as 59-year-old Clive Givens, otherwise called Oily Mouth. Reports from the Portmore police are that about 7:15 p.m., Givens was walking along the roadway when he was pounced upon by unknown assailants who opened fire, hitting him multiple times in the upper body. Givens was transported to hospital where he was pronounced dead. St. Elizabeth man charged following shooting incident. A St. Elizabeth man has been arrested and charged after he allegedly shot up a car in Lovers Lane, Newtown, St. Elizabeth on Sunday, January 15. Charged with possession of illegal firearm, unauthorized possession of ammunition, use of prohibited weapon to commit an offense, shooting with intent and malicious destruction of property, is 37-year-old George Brown, otherwise called Zango, of Lovers Lane in the parish. Reports are that about 9:15 p.m., Brown allegedly opened gunfire at the occupants of a Nissan AD wagon, who all managed to escape injury. A report was made and an investigation launched. Brown was reportedly arrested less than 24 hours later and charged following an interview. His court date is being arranged. Taxi operators urged to file legal challenge against traffic ticket. Motorists, especially taxi operators, are being urged to file a legal challenge about their traffic tickets on the grounds that the fines imposed and collected in recent years are illegal. This as the new higher traffic fines stipulated in the 2018 Amendment Road Traffic legislation were not enacted until last year, and the accompanying regulations do not come into force until February. The government later sought and got approval from Parliament to validate and identify the Transport Authority for collecting the fines. Opposition MP Fitzjackson said the exuberant traffic fines motorists paid are illegal and the millions collected should be reimbursed by the government. Speaking at the Todd's virtual meeting last evening, Mr. Jackson again raised concern about the traffic fines. Mr. Jackson pointed to administrative lapses that may have contributed to the problem. He said with an admission by the government that there are glitches with the traffic system, motorists have a strong claim in court.
What came before the Parliament was a bill to, in effect, give legality to some charges that were made, some fines that were levied. And I had a concern then, which I will still maintain as a matter of principle, in that if the fines obtained at the time of the offense or the breaches were committed, it cannot be that the government cause anybody, whether it's a transport operator or any citizen of this country, to pay a fine that is not legally enforced. Because in effect, what we are saying is that there is no regard for the law and what it says. Law is binding on all of us, regardless of the offices that we hold. And if the fines are obtained at the time when the alleged breaches were committed, the government should not seek to have persons, whether it's a taxi operator, public transport operator, or not, pay anything that does not have a legal footing. When the fees are $1,000 and then you charge $1,100, that is $100 more than what is legally permissible. It's against the law. It's a breach of the law. And no state agency, no individual ought to be allowed or should be deemed acceptable to breach what the legal provisions are. It is as simple as that. I gather, however, what may be the problem is that the process of gazetting these new levies or fines or penalties was not done. So there was some administrative bundling, some administrative failing that took place on the part of the government. Regardless of what the intentions were and how noble they were at the time when they were being promulgated, the failure of the government cannot impose an extra penalty over and above what the legal charges are. In much the same way that the traffic users, the roadway users, are expected to abide by the law, then the government must also abide by the law. Now, it's easy. It's a question of law, Mr. Newman. And when there is any doubt or conflict in terms of what the law provides for, the place to go is the courts. If the government fails to act, having pointed out that they are breaching the law, the authority that every citizen has is to go to the court. I know you have engaged lawyers in your association. Have the lawyers examine it and go before the courts.
Government calls on more local investors to set up operations in Caymanas, St. Catherine. Commerce Minister Senator Aubrey Hill has called on more local investors to get on board with setting up operations in the Special Economic Zone in Caymanas in St. Catherine. Speaking on Wednesday at the ministry's rebranding ceremony, Senator Hill noted that the BPO sector is booming. He urged local investors to join. Senator Hill added that the rent for the premises will be tax-free.
The special economic zone that you know that houses what you call BPOs and what we now call the global digital services sector is an amazing place. At the end of 2019, we had 43,000 employees. We now have about 60,000 employees. We have people in there that are working 7 years, 10 years, and they have senior jobs. And you know how I know? When I went there with the Prime Minister and he was launching informatics, when it was done, I walked around, went up to them, I saw that, I think it's JetBlue has their Center of Excellence here. Then I went down to the car parks. I didn't see a Lada, no Pro Box. We only see very high-end BMW and Mercedes and very, very good SUVs, generally Toyota. I've seen them. And that's what people used to complain about. You go work at BPO? Oh yeah? Take another look. That's a place we're going because we're training people to do that. The Jamaica Special Economic Zone has to step in. We have 650 acres of land right next to the port in Caymanas. Tanya Shirley knows it. It's UDC land. We're looking to develop the Special Economic Zone. It will take $200 million. Yes, we're looking to foreigners, but I want to see a Jamaican consortium or Jamaica business firm put that money together, become the master developer. All the rent that you get will be tax-free for a negotiated period of time, a long period of time. You get a 50-year lease, renewable. All the money that is not rent-related, you invest in shares and land, you would have to pay 12.5% on that. This opportunity won't come again. There's no more Caymanas. So I'm begging you, please, find a consortium and take it on.
Tufton says NHF must reinvent itself to meet challenges of Jamaican society. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the National Health Fund, NHF, will have to reinvent itself to meet the evolving challenges of the Jamaican society. Speaking at the NHF press conference, Dr. Tufton said the health profile of the population has evolved over time and the NHF has had to adjust to ensure those needs continue to be met. He noted that there are some issues that the agency will have to confront with this year and beyond to continue serving beneficiaries in the most efficient manner. This includes the financing of the fund. The health minister noted the rising costs being faced by the NHF, while indicating that studies about healthcare financing are currently being undertaken.
If you track the expense of the NHF, you realize that while the NHF has remained relevant to the current challenges, those challenges are evolving in a way that makes the financing of the response unsustainable. It's a harsh reality that we have to face, because when you look at the benefits and the expanded benefits, ultimately somebody has to pay for it. There's a tagline there at the end that says X amount of dollars required, whether we're sourcing it here, in India, in the US, Germany, wherever. Last year in my sectorial, I announced the Damian King committee looking at healthcare financing, because again, coming out of the COVID experience and looking at some of these costs, we decided that we wanted to have a discussion. And my second announcement is that in the not too distant future, I would say certainly over the next month or so, before the end of this financial year, we're hoping to begin or continue, but in a more stepped up way, a conversation around healthcare financing that's grounded in a document that is properly researched, led by Dr. King, which will pose some issues to the population, all of us, that we have to come to terms with.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell.